An old Washington argument heard again. Did they leave or were they thrown out? Either way, they're gone. Others not present tonight include Linda. Jamie Gangel is on the left typewriter one more time.
The president says his man is in. The French wish they could go out. A lady is going up, and overnight is going on.
It was an Australian politician, Fred Daly, who once remarked, "Politics is a funny game. One day you're a rooster, the next you're a feather duster." So it seems in Washington as efforts to clean the political house at the EPA continued. About some things there is no doubt. More managers are gone, and that will not stop the investigations. The heads of all 5 committees looking at the EPA said they would keep going. In fact, the liveliest controversy seems to be whether the latest group to be let off the bus walked or was pushed. It is a political question in a political year, especially with the president facing fire from his right. We have a report on who's gone and who's left from correspondent Bob Hager, but first, the president's view of how it happened. He was speaking to a group of students Friday who apparently asked the right question.
First of all, may I simply correct the basis for your question, and yet I understand the base for it, because you're repeating the way the story has been reported. And the reporting leaves something to be desired. First of all, Mr. Hernandez was not fired. Mr. Hernandez has been wanting to resign, and I think understandably so because of all the thing that's been going on the part of the congressional committees and so forth. And Mrs. Burford resigned only, and not by anyone else's decision but her own, because she felt that as long as she was there, they were going to keep on this harassing of the agency. I believe the agency's been doing a good job.
At the EPA, some career employees broke out champagne to celebrate the latest rolling of heads. Acting Administrator John Hernandez, Assistant Administrator John Todhunter, and General Counsel Robert Perry, all under investigation for being too close to the industries EPA regulates, all resigned under pressure. So did Paul Cahill, Chief of Federal Activities for EPA. Hernandez was summoned to the Oval Office, and so was Todhunter late this afternoon, where they joined Rita Lavelle, fired February 7th. Inspector General Matthew Novick, forced to resign February 23rd. Assistant Administrator Robert Horton, forced to resign February 23rd, and others, 12 in all. On the EPA organization chart, that includes the Administrator, Deputy Administrator, Inspector General, Officer for Federal Activities, 1 of 2 Associate Administrators, and 3 of the 6 Assistant Administrators. And sources say more will probably be asked to leave since the newly designated Administrator, William Ruckelshaus, has been told he has a free hand to get rid of whomever he chooses. Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
In another agency, President Reagan says talked about personnel changes are irrelevant. Kenneth Edelman, the president's nominee to head the Arms Control Agency, has been attacked by some members of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. The senators say Edelman misled them about the so-called Rowney Note, a personnel hit list Edelman saw. President Reagan says he's standing by Edelman.
That I'm sticking by Mr. Edelman. How someone can be hung out to dry for having received a letter from someone else. He didn't write the letter, he received it.
Well, he did write a memo, sir.
All right, but isn't this natural that someone who is in a position of assuming the directorship of an agency or department or commission or whatever it might be is going to make inquiries of people on the scene with regard to personnel and so forth? And as he said, and it was perfectly natural, I've done it myself, that when the letter came, he passed it to an aide for one who was collecting all the information that he would then have to deal with when he was in the job. And I think he is excellently qualified, and I think that the fuss that has been raised about him again is smacks of people smaller than the person they're attacking someone who's bigger than they are.
The president is also standing by his call for new space-based superweapons, despite criticism from some members of the scientific community and Star Wars insults from Democrats. Mr. Reagan is launching a new intensive study, which he says is the only way to eliminate the threat of nuclear war. Another threat, apparently, is not as bad as the president thought. A new FBI report concludes that Mr. Reagan was wrong when he suggested last year that the Soviet Union is manipulating the nuclear freeze movement. No comment on that from the White House.